So
something. I don't have the authority or the time to do this, but in the event that I did, one thing I might look towards would be a special rule for this one game, which is in the event that it ends on a disconnect, we just go with whoever the process says won.
Yeah,
Because
I'm thinking, 3 strikes you're out. Do a baseball rule.
something like that.
Yeah, not that baseball is.
It's still not entirely fair to Swordsmith, but it would be a more fair, I think, way to handle it. The only problem is I don't have any authority in this tournament whatsoever, and we started the game, so I can't ask Polina.
Yep. And it's not a dry ice map. It's actually a generous map. Maybe that was the problem. Too much dry ice.
So, welcome to Round 2, Room C, third rehost. I am your host, NC Game Wizard, and I am here with...
the one, the only, many copies. Apparently we need to have many copies of this game as well.
We are having a 4-person brawl between Cepheus, Dashin, Swordsmith, and Subject Potato. Swordsmith is rightly annoyed because he was the one who won last one, but it was on a network disconnection.
HQ has been founded.
Looking
like
for
an early found here.
Nice standard scientist by Cepheus near some water and some iron. Not a bad found.
I like Swordsmith's found here a lot more than I like his found last game, so...
Oh yeah, another standard scientist, but right by a geotherm. Get some geothermal borehole running.
You've got easy water and access.
So Dalshond is going with an elite, but with no steel to begin with, and steel starts double. That's not going to go well.
Dashun's picking up some water to mitigate this. Water, of course, represents roughly 1/6 the price of steel.
And Subject Potato is also trying to go scientist. He's going to have to ship a little bit for his water. Not unfixable, but coming down last, that might be a problem.
One thing, this isn't specifically an advantage to Subject Potato, but each of these water positions would also be fine wind turbine positions. Don't know if you'll see that come down, but that is a possibility for transitions.
Indeed. I mean, there was also, right near where Dalshon founded, you could have founded a pretty decent scavenger. Don't found in the crater, found slightly outside the crater.
Yes.
You also could have founded an elite. There is actually a combined silicon carbon tile over on the west side of the map. Found near that. That could be good. Get a little good early carbon. Yeah.
No nukes on the map, so that would definitely be inclining me towards a scavenger found versus what Dashun's doing with elite there.
Yeah. Yeah, the elite just wasn't in it. There wasn't any good silicon near iron. That's what you need for an elite. Silicon near iron. And what the elite gets away with is not having to play the aluminum game. They don't need aluminum for anything except for building electronics. So
they also get a little bit of an advantage by having an extra claim right at the start, but since they don't get so many claims throughout the game, if they don't put an optimization center down, it tends to not work out too powerfully for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, they are trying to power play here, which is very interesting. I applaud this interesting play. It's not going to work as well. He might have done better as a robot to try to do a power robot rather than a power elite.
Then he kind of runs into the problem where the iron that he would have to be shipping to make a robot work would be cutting into his power money.
Yeah. Well,
so it's a...
Well, he could hope that others would overproduce. It's going to be weird. Man, these remote glass killings for Cephalus, or not Cephalus, Cephas are going to be, especially because he has to ship the oxygen all the way out there. And then Subject Potato is shipping food, which is not bad to begin with, but there are pirates on this map. Just throw down those pirates. That food is
Swordsmith. Yeah, putting down this food. Cepheus putting down electrolysis. Both scientists shipping resources that they probably shouldn't be putting through the air. Subject also with those farms.
It's, I think, for whichever scientist gets... now, Cephas doesn't need as much because he can connect his water up to his base. and probably be okay. He might do better off with slant drilling to make his water patch a bit bigger. And that would probably do Cephas just fine. But between Subject Potato and Swordsmith, whoever gets the teleportation is going to be the one in the good position. Subject Potato needs it for his water. Swordsmith apparently... Oh no. Swordsmith can also connect up his base. It's Cephas who also now needs it because he put those remote silicon claims. That's why he
ultimately, pretty much any of our players here would benefit from teleportation.
Yeah. Teleportation scientist is very strong. And look, he builds a geothermal plant and it gets mutinied.
So, something I feel compelled to point out here is Dashund did not make power money. Now, the price on power is actually going back up because it's nighttime, but with these geos coming down and this dust storm happening, it's starting to look like he maybe didn't get what he needed out of that silicon play by building those solar panels early. He might have wanted to go into glass so he could be looking towards his upgrade.
Yep, and it looks like Subject Potato is going to win the teleportation race here because he's got it. He's recognized his problem and is going for it. And those pirates that finally came down are not going to do as much anymore because once you have teleportation, pirates just don't matter to you.
Subject Potato sitting on his goon squad instead of defending Patent Lab.
Yeah, that's a mistake right there. And now this dust storm, he should have transitioned into electrolysis reactors from his greenhouse farms because during a dust storm, you get minus 50% production.
That's true.
So, even though food is a decently good market, it's not nearly as good as electrolysis reactors at this moment.
So somebody spends a mutiny on the Patent Lab, did not even look for a spy to make sure it wasn't defended, which is incredibly risky, but it paid.
Yep. And that's why you throw down your goon squad on it. It was a prime target. It was a...
Especially if you're teleportation rushing as a scientist, because that's just painting a big old target on your back.
Mm-hmm. And now his food gets frozen, but it's at least happening during the storm, so not quite as painful.
So one thing I will say Subject Potato has going for him here is he does have some electronics factories down with teleportation, and one of them's in a spot where it's getting carbon and silicon. So really he just needs to hit slant drilling, and he would have a very, very lucrative spot to be making chems, to be making glass, anything.
Now, Dashund has started to put down his pleasure dome with 6 adjacency. He bet her goon this. And goons are 2K, so I know he hasn't yet, because that is mutiny target, that is dynamite target.
EMP target?
EMP target, it's that good. Because it is going to be netting $750 a second, which I highly approve of. Or actually, no, now it's coming down to 400. And if he puts down a patent lab or mutinies another patent lab, and remember, Dashund as an elite can get any patent already taken, so he doesn't have to rush for them. He just gives the original owner a little bit of the chemicals.
And depending on what the price of chemicals are, that might not be a thing for the original owner exchange.
So, if he can get himself a little bit of, what is that patent called? Virtual reality, he will be a happy camper. He will be an extremely happy camper.
If I were Dashund right now, I would be looking towards licensing virtual reality, then superconductor, then nanotech.
And now Dashund is remote shipping food. And he's remote shipping 3 tiles of silk. Okay.
It's definitely the wrong move based off his water stock.
A scientific
but
HQ has been upgraded.
Because I think those are on water tiles. He was like, oh,
Yes.
What you've got to realize is you need to support your markets.
Yes.
And if you do not, and if time spent transitioning means your tiles are not making profit. So support your markets. Now it's okay
Well, he's figured it out.
if you have a slightly under-supported market and you're going to eat a little bit off of the regular market and someone is slightly oversupplying it. That can work.
Alternatively, if you have a massive resource stockpile of the resource, like say 1,000 water, then yeah, you can transition those 3 water pumps into farms, and you'll be fine because it'll be like 3 minutes before you burn your way through your water stockpile. But
well, the other problem is he's shipping it remotely, so it's not quite as okay.
well, yeah, it's one of those situations that it was more common in the game prior to Return a Claim being introduced. Return a Claim not available here, but it was just one of those situations where sometimes a claim is a claim, and you just got to remote ship because your time investment you're going to lose if you don't.
And now Cephas is building a quadrangle of chemicals, and the 3 that he just added do not have carbon under them. That is a huge mistake, because now he's got to ship carbon and fuel out there, and then he's got to ship the chemicals back. It's
you can see one of the chem labs is turned on. That's the one with carbon. And all of the rest are just not functional right now.
Yes. Well, it's also because he needed a little time for the ships to get out there with the fuel. That is take advantage of your scientist advantage, which is to not have to use the primary resource.
So Dashan really, really thrilled with his position right now because as an elite, you're usually behind and in debt, and he's ahead and not in debt. And that's really, really good for that particular HQ because it typically is a late runner where it moves very quickly in the later game and less quickly at the beginning. So to be out ahead just means you're just really playing effectively to your strengths.
Well, I think what's happened is people have not killed him enough. Elites come into their full at the late game, but there are plenty of things they could have done, such as mutinying his pleasure dome, hitting him.
Yes.
He's shipping stuff. He could. EMPs are at 2K. Not an EMP has been bought. They could have shut him down. The other players are making a lot of unforced errors here, and so they don't have the money they should. They should have been able to have enough cash and already had a sub by now, or some ridiculous advantage over Deshaun. So
Cepheus is definitely, and Subject Potato, open for an early buy.
They are.
They'd probably defend, but it would slow them down, and it would put Swordsmith or Dashan in a commanding position.
Now, Deshaun should attack Subject Potato right now, go right now.
Immediately.
He just upgraded without defending his stock. You go in, you majority buy.
Yes.
You've got a sub. It's game over. In terms of that, you're defended, and then suddenly you're an elite sitting with a sub, and you're in the late game, and everyone else is barely just caught up with you. You get to run away with it.
Why that would work. You need to secure 3 stock in yourself in order to be prevented from a majority buy. Prevent opponents from majority buying you. Subject spent all of his money on upgrading, and other players are capable of seeing how much cash and resources you have at all times. So the minute that goes ding and they see the upgrade, they should think to themselves, does this guy have any money?
And you just hover over their name to see their full amount of kind of their financials.
Right. So essentially, you can see that they don't have the money to defend themselves. By buying them, you're making the stock price go up. You're making it even more difficult for them to defend themselves.
And it's
one thing that you learn really early on in tournament settings and in ranked play is if you're behind in a free-for-all, you have to buy at least 1 blip of stock in yourself before you can upgrade up to where everybody else is. At least 1.
Yeah, now Cephas is trying to go for the attack. I think Subject Potato can defend here, unless he gets a pile on.
Subject Potato is not defending.
He's not defending himself, and it's going to kill him. Yeah, he's too late, because...
Maybe?
Maybe. Well, Dashawn is at
Maybe.
least buying into Cephas. Oh, he got it. He defended. And
If
now
you have the money, you can usually defend yourself.
And now Dashawn is moving into Cephas, which is not a bad move, because if you can pick up Cephas, he also picks up all that stock and subject potato. For Swordsmith here, you kind of have to buy yourself up and then also probably buy into the shop. The stock game is now, we're past majority buy point. That opportunity has come and gone.
We've already talked about area of effect black market. This EMP got dropped, but it didn't get dropped directly on any one building. There are sometimes strategic reasons you might want to do that with a scientist. You know, if he had a goon squad down there, dropping it next to the building would reveal it and take out everything around it anyway. As is, it was pretty much just a mistake to not put a spy down there and then just take your hit and have it last longer. Because right now, in like 20 seconds, all of Cepheus's buildings will be back.
Yeah, and Swordsmith, over half of his base is auto-offed. He built 9 chem refineries. Chems are at 78. Fuel is at 239.
Our methods continue to improve.
Yeah.
Now, he does have carbon scrubbing, so he doesn't need to be on carbon to get advantage of that, but come on. You're going to kill the market when you do something like that. And he's got nanotech, so he needs to scrap out of at least half of those.
Swordsmith, this is too many buildings. You need to be working on variety. Yeah, he's figured it out.
Yeah, and also be careful what you're optimizing, because I saw someone just optimize power. Power was at like $15 and falling when that was optimized.
Yes. It can often seem like a great idea to optimize power right up until the optimization for power actually starts coming through.
And remember, it takes longer and it's more expensive to go in higher optimizations. And that was at a 75%. And if you're not elite and getting to claim for it, an optimization or two or power is pretty good. Dashawn now has 4 things optimized perfectly.
I want you to watch the price on water. Just watch it. Just watch it. Because looking at Swordsmith, yeah.
He doesn't know the meaning of the word moderation.
No. At least he's got those farms down, because those farms are doing great right now, but everything else... Oh, he's back into can't produce a building again, because microeconomics doesn't work this way.
Yeah, and Cephas is in D+2 debt, so cheap price. Dashawn probably just wants to finish that buyout because it's cheap stock as soon as possible. And Dashawn
I'd like to take
also
a second.
It's just optimized everything, so it's just not going to matter in a very little bit.
I would like to talk with Swordsmith about diversification. You see, Swordsmith, you have access to iron and water. And that's it. You don't have aluminum, as best I can tell. You're next to carbon. You're not reusing it for anything.
He's got carbon scrubbing, so it's okay for him not to.
Okay, that's fine. Some silicon, though, definitely would be a thing to pick up, because he is going to be consuming silicon for these electronics. I was going to actually suggest to him electronics would be probably the best thing for that big old blob of buildings, and he's caught on to that, but it's not the best thing, and he can sustain it. And that's what he needs if he wants to... Well, I guess he has a ton of money and decent stock in himself, but still.
And then he also made himself weak to his entire base getting EMP'd.
Yes. That's kind of... He's in kind of a cramped location. So I'm slightly forgiving about that, but...
There's ways to be better about it than just one massive blob. You kind of make yourself a noodle tentacle and you can do it. It works.
And this far in the late game with $6,000 EMPs available, he is gonna be hit.
Yeah. They saved all their black market to the late game, which is going to be really painful. Water is getting kind of ridiculous, and electrolysis reactors are auto-offing. Time to move them down and switch them into electronics, as the revenue on that is a lot better. Just something else. Dashawn, I think, kind of has it here. well, or probably has it, and the reason why is they let him get to the late game. He's not really in massive debt. He's got 23 optimizations. I mean, Cephas is running tons of optimizations, but he's dead and going to become a sub. So he's not going to make it out. He's got at least one Offworld going. Offworlds are okay. Or no, Offworlds are decent. They've got some 40k launches. But no one else is contesting the Pleasure Market, and the Pleasure Dome is producing over 1,000 a second.
That's better than an Offworld.
That's better than an Offworld. So it doesn't matter he only has one Offworld to there too. He's got something better and cheaper and been running for longer. And
yeah.
He's also got teleportation and virtual reality. And okay, Deshaun just there. Oh no, Subject Potato got it. So they're going to split that sub. But that still works out decently.
For Dashand.
For Dashand, also because Subject Potato was getting a lot of cash every day from financial instruments, which he had picked up since Cephas was in such debt. So there.
The real reason that this is so in favor of Dashand is, as an elite, every time you hit that 4th level of optimization to make up for the fact that it's not the best thing time-wise or resource-wise to hit that 4th optimization, they get a free claim. And so he's working his way towards his 7th free claim right now.
He's got his 7th. He's got 28 optimizations. He's starting to work on oxygen. He is going to make tons of things. Now, one thing... Has he ever produced steel at all this game?
He has iron input. So I'm imagining the answer is yes.
And the other thing you can do as elite is optimize steel, because you can produce... Because you can make 3 off-world markets where everyone else can only make 2.
This is one of those interesting situations where you've got 2 players who very clearly want to murder each other, and Swordsmith just making money. And so now players kind of have to make an internal decision of, is Swordsmith going to have enough money to buy me at $1 million, you know, if I go through with this fight?
And I still think Deshaun should buy out Subject Potato, because if he does, he's going to get stock back, because Subject Potato is buying him. Subject Potato is panic buying, basically, at this point. And he's going to get another sub, half of the sub that's already there. I mean, it's just... And the sub is making tons of money per share at the moment. Yep.
Offworld shipment launched.
And basically now, Deshaun is going to make more money than anything. The sub is finally starting to put down a Pleasure Dome just because of no one competed in the Pleasure Market with an elite. No one, you didn't blow it up, you didn't mutiny it, you didn't throw down an EMP. All of those are acceptable to me. All of those. A full EMP just to take down $1,000 a second Pleasure Dome is fine. Perfectly fine. And gentlemen,
this is the thrill of doing commentary.
Man, I didn't use my rage voice at all. And now Deshaun is throwing down a 3rd Offworld. Okay, it's... I think that's overkill, since he technically has ridiculous amounts of Offworld already. I don't think Swordsmith, the amount of money Swordsmith has on hand, is just not going to make the difference with that income. Because Deshaun is just... Deshaun is going to just make...
Well, now the EMPs are coming down.
Yeah, but the thing about it is... Swordsmith does an EMP, freezes 1 of 3 bases that's making Deshaun money. Deshaun throws down an EMP and freezes Swordsmith's only base that is making him money.
More to the point, Deshaun just needs like another $200,000, whereas Swordsmith needs to be a millionaire. And that's kind of the problem here.
Yeah. And
with mutinies, this could happen. If Swordsmith had been stockpiling mutinies all game and mutinying everybody's Offworlds, it wouldn't be out of bounds.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to go after Deshaun's Offworlds. Go after...
Subject Potato.
Well, not actually Subject Potato, because Subject Potato has thinking machines, but go after Cephas's Offworlds, because those are not thinking machined. And you know they're not going to be gooned, and you know they're not going to be hologram, because all those defenses go away. And there we go. Third time's a charm.
Swordsmith.
And as
I
you
really
see,
would have
more
liked to
pleasure
see you pull
domes
this one out.
came down and finally cut that profit in half. Thank God for subs being smart about making pleasure money.
Yes.
All right.
Though a lot of that was just money directly back into Dashan's pockets.
Yes, even his losses on that got returned to him as. All right.
Yes.
Is the tournament mod recorded which one this is? Who won the tie breaks for you? Oh my God, these optimizations. Dashan had 8 perfect optimizations. Black market, criminally underused.
The problem is, I wasn't thinking about it, and Polina politely asked us not to do too much post-match commentary, and as it turns out, I immediately left the game, so I don't know. I hope you can see the rankings.
Well, I can save the replay, because the rankings hasn't come out for me, so... Alright, so let me go ahead and exit here. Oh, and also, in terms of bribe claims, Dashan had 6 of them, so he had, like, double the claims of everyone else.